What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 18 of Spoiler Alert. I'm ChanManV, and he's Ellohime, and he's not Diction, though.
No, he's not. This isn't
He is
Eat My
not
Diction. Eat My Diction just got
He's
on
way hotter than me.
He's
a crazy diet, and within a week, you tell me, what's your secret addiction?
We all need that diet, man.
I know. That's
You're juicing? Well, I think you're
soft.
going the opposite direction of your juicing.
Oh wait,
Depends on what
wait,
kind
hold
of
on. Yeah, he's vegetable juicing. Like,
No. It's all like X-Lax. I've just been shitting away all the
my
excess.
No, I want to welcome our guest, BruisedLee, who is
Thank
our
you.
second guest ever on this show. So really pleasure to have you on, man.
Yeah,
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Shane, man. Ellohime, I really appreciate that. Hi, everybody.
you're the first loser. That's what my father would say.
You're
the second.
loser.
Yeah,
You
you're
told
the
me
second.
Whiteman was on here. That's a lie.
Yeah, Bikeman got first place, and everything after him is just. That's what my dad would say. It's like if you're not first, you're last. Second place is
Wow.
first loser.
I've met your dad. Is he Ricky Bobby?
No.
Ricky Bobby.
Actually, my dad's thing was, this is legit. This is the real what my father told me. My dad's thing was, as long as you're not in last place, you're good. Like, as long as you're like not the last kid that comes like running up after sprints, or the last kid that's like, after, a bunch of push-ups, like I'm the last to stand up. Like, as long as I'm not the last, then I'm good. Like, that was my dad's only requirement to like love me as a son, is I just couldn't be last. So I made sure not to be the very last person. And there were times it was close. It was a close call, but I made it.
But
You've
look
been
at you
living
now, man.
With
Look at
that sense of gravity ever since, just shooting from the hip, Elo.
That's right. I gotta love it, man. All right, guys. Well, today we're going to be talking about a TV show. Last week we did, of course, Akira and the movie, and this week we're going to be discussing and spoiling, like we always do, the TV show, the Showtime TV show, Billions. And it's starring Paul Giamatti, Damian Lewis, as well as a bunch of other people too, which Maggie Siff and Malin
Maggie Stiff.
Yes.
Mm.
yes.
Maggie Siff may be the best thing about this show.
Dude, that first scene is just, we'll talk about it in a second. But yeah, so this show, those of you that haven't tuned in, it's season 1 was last year, and they actually just started season 2. So we'll only be talking about season 1 today. And it's about the financial sector. It's like hedge fund versus, attorney general type of thing. So yeah, just want to get your initial thoughts on what you thought of the series.
It's like Silicon Valley, but not nearly as fun. It's like if Silicon Valley and House of Cards were to have a baby, it would be Billions. Is how I
That's
feel.
actually kind of a good analogy, actually.
Yeah,
I like that.
Here's what always sort of, let's just right out the gate. I always kind of just like to throw out my own little things. Here's what I don't like about shows like this, or like House of Cards, or even Silicon Valley, like even as silly as that is, there's a lot of this like back and forth ego, political intrigue, big dick kind of stuff, and I always wonder how real that is in like life.
Mhm.
Like, I understand that there are people like, like the Wolf on Wall Street, there's a little of that in there too. That's based on a true story. There have been people who have done like inside trading and of course been brought down by the government and all that good stuff. It's happened, right? It exists. But like, I guess this is what bothers me, is that people like you and me are never going to know if in the process of taking down these people that it's really this dramatic or even that close. Like, are these people really like making plays against each other like it's some giant chessboard, like using all their influence and like fucking bribing people? And I mean, I know that stuff happens, but like at this level, and the only way you would know that is if you're like one of these billionaires, or if you're in the FBI or the CIA or whatever the fuck, takes these guys down. Like, And so I wonder if this type of show, or this type of like back and forth political intrigue kind of show, is just a completely bullshit thing that is just done for our entertainment, or if this actually exists in our world. Like, can this happen? Like, could this happen like in real life, where like one powerful guy that's just with a bunch of money, and one guy from the government just fucking hate each other, or a couple of them do, and then it's just like, we're grabbing things from like the old school old man, political group. We're grabbing stuff from like lobbyists and fucking company, like, can this struggle get that crazy? And because I have to ask myself that question, I have a hard time enjoying shows like this. And, I don't know why. It's just
seems unbelievable.
It truly does seem like unbelievable that all this stuff can really.
Right. I mean, to answer your question, I think politically, absolutely. I mean, I don't even think there's a question from a politics standpoint that this happens. Financially, the only times that you see this type of thing happen, I mean, it's usually super big news, and it rarely happens because people are so careful, and it probably doesn't happen to this degree where they're literally going deep down into the trenches and the gutter, and trying to, out move each other. So that I'm sure is over dramatized, but
it's like, are there really billionaires out there that are like getting with their like cancer patient employees and being like, I'll give you 40 million to take the fall on me one day, like does that actually happen? I mean, that's a pretty weird.
Are there people out there that are capable of doing that? I'm sure there are. I mean, I just don't.
Capable. I just don't feel like even billionaires have contingency plans that crazy. Like,
yeah,
like,
Well, I
mean,
like,
you gotta be a real fucking like paranoid guy.
I mean, if you're a billionaire too, you're not going to be in a position like that Axelrod is in. So.
I fucking hate his name.
His name is Axelrod. Axelrod. Who fucking wrote this?
And he's a Metallica fan too.
Who gave him his name? That's not his mom. Didn't give him his name.
That's my birth name.
He didn't marry into that.
His dad gave him the name.
Bobby
right?
Axelrod.
I feel like when you say that your name is Axelrod, you can only do that from the back of a Harley. Like, and they're like, "What's your name?" And it's like, I'm Axelrod. Like, it has to be. And you can't just tell somebody at a dinner party, like, "Oh yes, my name's Axelrod." It's like, "Oh, whoa, what?" Like, what the fuck did you say? Like, you can only be on the back of a heart. Yeah, Axel what? Like, what the fuck did your parents punish you with? Like, what name? God, I do hate his fucking.
I mean, he could be a WWE wrestler, like tomorrow,
or just like I don't know, a junior rock star or something. I don't know, like it sounds like Axl Rose, Axl Rod, Axl Corp, Axl Rose.
Yeah, it's like
I like the guy as an actor.
Yeah, he's a fabulous
like
actor.
Michaela Maroney gymnast smirk, like. Just the whole, I don't know. His upper lip never moves either. That's something I couldn't help but stare at. But yeah, the name of the character, honestly, for the longest time, I couldn't remember anybody's name except him. And it was only because he's the most charismatic character.
Yep.
But like nobody, I mean, it's even I don't know.
Chuck Rhodes.
Characters, they're just really hard to swallow. For me.
Yeah, so what were your general thoughts? Bruce?
General thoughts, I wanted to like it. I had a lot of problems with it. There was I don't know, the show starts off very well with a nice little bait and switch shot of, you think Paul Giamatti's having this affair, and then they quickly like bring it back around by the end of the episode that it's just his wife. And so you immediately get the sense like, wait, this is supposed to be a good guy, but they got some freaky kinks going on.
Right.
And I was intrigued by that, but it immediately gave me red flags. It's like, oh wait, if you're this person in this job trying to do the specific job of taking down this specific super billionaire, I don't know, you have to have a squeaky clean everything. Not just what do you have, like an 81-0 record for winning all his little battles. And like right away, I just knew, like, man, there's going to be some serious problems here with this guy, and just from the get-go, like he's at his core going to have problems. He's going to be struggling. And
I got to say, I mean, you can't have. Go ahead, Chan.
Well, you're saying that being dominated at home by your wife is actually something that he's not able to take down, like huge corrupt billionaires?
Wait, hold on. Well, hold on. Listen. We're not pissing around here.
Pissing around, literally.
All right. Okay. How about this? I understand that like having sex with his wife should be, it's like whatever, man. Whatever happens to man, that's his wife. It's not a big deal, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, if Cora and I were on that level of kink, I would not, if I was running for political office, I would not want people to fucking know that about me.
And they would find that out about you.
I'm very strong on economic policy, and also my wife pisses on my chest every night for sexual pleasure.
Hey, man, it wasn't that long that Golden Showers was like trending on Twitter. I mean, he's our president, dude. Okay, so you can shoot for the top right now, okay?
You're right, man. I don't think it slowed down R. Kelly one bit.
Oh my God. It depends on who you are.
Yeah,
right?
I guess.
If you're a rock star, man, piss on people all day, you might get some shit about it, but you'll be all right. But if you're a public defender and you're doing this, and you're going, I mean, he was also going to sex clubs.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
like,
he does
out in the public eye. That's just stupid.
Yes, yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Well, he's sick. I mean, he didn't sick, but he's addicted to that, obviously, right? So,
and it's something that he brought his
job.
Yeah, but he brought his wife into that too. I mean, that's what I thought was kind of interesting is how they kind of they gave you the story without giving you the story, right? I did appreciate this show did a good job of show don't tell. Like I feel like in a lot of instances, instead of going like, oh, his wife went and took lessons to become a better mistress or whatever, or not even mistress. I guess it's a dominatrix,
right?
But like. But the thing is, they don't ever say that, right? Like he breaks down when he thinks she's cheating on him, and he has a moment of weakness and goes into this place. And then in that like little dialogue between him and that other dominatrix chick, you learn pretty much exactly what it is. Like this was something that Megan Siff's, I'm going to call her Megan Siff's character. Maggie Siffs, you're right. Maggie Siff, her character, this is something that she learned and actively went to workshops for to please him. Like this wasn't something before. Yeah. I mean, you're right. I'm saying I'm backing you up basically is like, yeah, this is something that is 100% him and could be, misconstrued or could be used against him, leveraged against him. And when you're taking down, like you said, big billionaires, I agree 100% that he has to understand the risks involved in having a lifestyle like that, even if it's in the privacy of his own home. I think that if a news person were to find that, somebody in his position in our real world had that kind of relationship, I'm sure somebody would make news about it and there would be some backlash over it, even if it is in the home. Not that I think that that's right or anything, but I think that it would probably happen. So it's not surprising that later on during the series, towards the end of this first season that, it's visited and yeah. Yeah.
So for those of you wondering what the heck we're talking about, so in the show, or just the general premise of the show is that you have the Chuck Rhodes, who's Paul Giamatti, who is the U.S. Attorney General for I think is the North. It's like either north or south of New York.
I think it's south.
I think it's south. Yeah, the south office of for New York, and that's a very important position. Usually it's like a stepping stone for very, very big things. And then you have a billionaire hedge fund owner, which is Damian Lewis's character, Axelrod, who we were talking about, and he's done corrupt things to get to that point, and so you have this kind of clash where the U.S. Attorney General's office is trying to take down this super popular, super well-known, billionaire, and that's what the entire season is basically about, or the entire show is about. Yeah, so that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the U.S. Attorney General that's kind of, has this kinky side of him, and obviously a flaw, which he should have a flaw, guys. I mean, the last thing I want to see is like a very boring dude that's just gonna go in there and take down, this charismatic billionaire. I mean, that wouldn't make for a very interesting thing.
I disagree.
What?
I think that there's
Really?
something
You'd
to be.
rather see-
Hold on a second. I think that there's something to be said about, and this is not a novel idea. This is something that's been done. I like the idea of somebody going in as a Boy Scout and coming out as dirty as the people he takes down. You know what I mean? Like, even though this flaw, I wouldn't say doesn't make him a Boy Scout, there's definitely things that compromises his integrity throughout this, the season.
Yeah, he gets dirty for sure.
Yeah, he gets fucking dirty, right? But like, I mean, you going in, I almost like the guy that's flawless, like the guy with the perfect record, the Boy Scout. He comes in, he's gonna clean up this town kind of thing, and then by the end of whatever movie or show it is, he's compromised his own character in order to get the job done, right? And in a lot of ways, he can't do his job without compromising his character. I think there's definitely entertainment in that.
I think, there's definitely huge ego, right? I mean, ego is like, I think one of the biggest factors or biggest motivations in the show, at least for what's happening. And I think ego is probably the biggest thing because, like Chuck does have this kind of sex, this whole dominatrix thing, but that's really not that big of a flaw compared to what some of the things that he ends up doing, which is essentially breaking the law in a lot of instances, or becoming very close, or at least doing things that would get him fired from his job, like for sure.
He fractures a lot of laws.
Yeah, he fractures them. Yeah, exactly.
Well, he plays the game, right? Like that's the game. Is this sort of, and it's weird because I think his character is actually pretty interesting. And as like characters are, if you just enjoy characters and things, I don't know about you guys, but I can look at something that I don't like and still appreciate characters within it, like characters that are created and stuff. I think that his character is actually I think his character's pretty deep. I think he's got a lot of different aspects to him through his relationship with his father, his wife, his co-workers, and just his mentality in general, that I think makes him a very interesting character. And it's almost like this show does a really, I'm going to say weird or odd job when it comes to like the bad guy actually is the good guy. The good guy's actually the bad guy. There's this shade of, this shade of gray kind of, mentality here. But I never like watching the show. I honestly get the feeling like the billionaire's the good guy, or painted to be the good guy. And and Paul Giamatti's character, Chuck, I guess is what it is. He's not. He's like the bad guy, but he morally finds himself on the high ground. Yeah. And,
the complexity for it, guys, like, again, folks that might not watch it normally or have watched the first season, there's a complexity because Chuck Rhodes, the U.S. attorney's wife, works for Axelrod as his, it's like, I don't know, what's the position? The counselor.
Therapist.
He's a therapist and counselor that basically keeps all the people that work for him, all the traders and everything, motivated and, just mentally right. So there's that whole conflict of interest, and I mean, it's beyond conflict of interest. I mean, it's a big reason for a lot of the issues that happen on the show.
Which is super weird to me to begin with.
Yeah.
Like
they introduce it.
Yeah.
Like that's how the show starts, with this crazy conflict of interest. And I feel like you're just going through red tape to get to the end of that. Mm-hmm. And I was honestly like, it made it harder to enjoy the show. I just wanted to get to that, and everything in between. And I'm not saying it was all bad by any means, but there was just a lot of stuff that I felt like the writers were putting in as fluff to just extend things. There's even a lot of weird scenes that
like
sometimes
it's not
even dialogue.
Yeah.
Like when Paul Giamatti, Chuck Rhodes' little sidekick, the guy with the really
Brian.
round face.
Brian
Connolly?
Yeah, Connerty.
Connerty.
Yeah.
Who they all pretend is like some good-looking dude.
I don't like that dude.
Like they all pretend like he's some kind of like hotshot young playboy, new to the game and shit, like Boy Scout. And I don't know, man, that guy looked pretty fucking old to me. And he did. I don't think he was warranted all the vagina he got on that shit. But anyways, go ahead.
But well, no, that's the scene I'm talking about. When he gets the vajayjay, when he like lays down with I think her name was like
The first
Schrader
girl,
or
the first girl, the black girl, or the white girl.
the black girl.
Okay, yeah.
Wow.
The white girl, the white
This
FBI girl,
racism.
then that was nothing. He didn't care about her. That was just toss away pussy. Like he just got some, and then he like cleaned his nose. And he's like, all right, I'm bouncing. See ya. But, that scene when he goes back to her apartment, and it just you see them start to engage, and then it cuts away, and another scene happens, and then they come back, and all you see is a coffee machine just grinding up and auto making coffee at 6:45 in the morning.
Yeah.
And then the camera goes over and you see the two of them laying in bed and they're just waking up and they don't say anything. And they just look at each other and smile. And it's 10 seconds that tells you nothing about the show. Like that's 10 seconds that could have been used, I don't know, somewhere else. I feel like much better. I don't know. It kind of bothered me because there's little parts where they just do that a lot, like little things that don't need to be there. They kind of beat you over the head with the product placement. They really beat you over the head with in this show. Did you guys notice that too?
No, like which ones?
Apple computers. Apple phone.
Okay. Yeah, I did notice that.
Oh,
But
okay.
that was
Yeah,
the only
the
thing-
iPhone for sure. Yeah, I know that's
iPhone.
for sure.
There was. Hold on. I have to check my notes. So I sound.
It's weird because in this show,
he
while you
takes
check
notes.
notes. While you check your notes, let me just say that I guess I didn't notice the product placement in this because I don't know, with a show like Billions in the title, and like I know I'm gonna be around a billionaire, I just feel like I'm gonna see a lot of products around him.
Yeah.
Like naturally.
Like the Ferraris and the Maseratis.
Yeah, it wasn't so bad. It was
Yeah.
smaller stuff to me that I noticed. Like Heineken.
Okay.
They always were drinking whenever
Yeah,
he's like,
they
"Give
always
me a
were.
Were they?
Heineken."
Oh, that's true.
Yeah,
I
they
didn't
were.
notice
And,
that.
I don't
too.
think Billy is Heineken the drink of billionaires.
I hope-
Is it really?
No, I don't
I
think
don't
Heineken
drink
is the
Heineken.
drink
No,
of
I don't
don't
like-
drink
I don't
Heineken.
It's the
Heineken.
drink of people that want to be millionaires,
But
not actual
the absolute-
billionaires.
I gotta say the absolute worst. Apparently, like the product of millionaires is to listen to Metallica.
Okay.
Like, did
okay,
anybody
sure.
else-
Okay. I give you that. I totally give you that.
Yeah, like I saw the
That was too
I mean,
much.
don't get me wrong, I love Metallica, and I had plenty of friends that were hardcore metalheads growing up, and they did not grow up to be any of those guys that went to this Metallica show with this billionaire.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
but,
give you that.
But
one.
like Metallica fans are like all over the place. You know, like there's such a huge band. You know, you got to assume that in their fan base, there's got to be, you know,
But did you
at
believe
least.
it?
Huh?
Ello?
I mean,
But did you
yeah.
believe it, Ello? Like when he's having the conversation with the girl that's for the opening band, and she's like, favorite song, and he's like, Fade to Black. He's like, classic. Creeping Death, though. You're so wrong.
Okay,
I'm like,
that
this is-
girl. Yeah.
okay,
no,
I give you
listen,
that episode. That
yeah,
episode was
yeah,
super cheap. It was out of context, like out of character, and I was just like, come
Well,
on, really?
I guess what I was more
Like-
focused on was like the drugs they took. Like you would think like a billionaire and his buddies flying out to a Metallica, show, the only one in North America or whatever, and they're going there on his plane, and then like they're like, yeah, we're about to party, and then like they roll out like just weed. Just like high, like just and, like it was just totally fine. Like there's nothing wrong.
When
with
you
just
get
smoking, but,
old,
like,
Ello, that's
these-
about all you
I know,
do,
but
dude.
these are billions. These are billionaires, right? Or like, at least he's a billionaire. Like you would, I don't know. I guess I was just
Wait,
imagining like when it's
wait,
like,
okay, do you
hold
still,
on, let me
okay, go
hold on. Let
go
me
ahead.
finish this thought real quick. I just felt like when you're gonna roll out like the red carpet as a billionaire, like it's not just gonna be weed. Like I feel like cocaine's got to be involved. I feel like maybe Molly, like some other drugs. Like
Well-
I feel like a billionaire would be fucking bored with weed.
Okay.
Like
Yeah, it's got to be some next level weed.
yeah,
Some
like some
crazy.
crazy
I mean,
shit.
He's got
is
billions of
Mark
dollars.
Zuckerberg next level weed? Like what, laced with
Like is,
PCP or
is Mark
something?
Zuckerberg
I mean-
is Mark Zuckerberg just smoking weed when he goes out to see Metallica once one
Mark
time
Zuckerberg's not doing anything, okay, when he's going to see Metallica. Let's be real here. That's my point. It's like, is Bill Gates or Mark Zuckerberg or Warren Buffett doing coke? Like, or are they going to be doing coke, or do you see them doing weed?
You know what I mean?
You know,
like throwing out a bunch of weed is something that like we could do. Like,
Yeah.
when it's
I'm
a
not a millionaire.
billionaire, yeah, but like when it's a billionaire, it's like I expect the drugs to be harder for some reason. Like I don't know. They're like, "Are you ready? Are you gonna get crazy for this week?" You know, yeah, bro. Let's see what we got. And it's like, we've got this fine selection of THC, and this is 35%, and this is
Product placement, baby. Product placement.
yeah, more product placement. Colorado's like, yeah.
Somebody said Mega Pain 2 says they also did LSD. I missed that. If they did LSD,
yeah, I missed that.
When
did they do LSD?
When did they do LSD? Yeah, I missed that too.
he showed him that like, this is 38% THC, but I didn't think that was. That's the only thing I really remember that seemed like they were. I don't know.
Yeah, I missed that too. If there was some like if it was laced or whatever. But yeah, that episode I felt like was kind of out of nowhere, and I mean, it didn't have anything to do with the overall plot, right? It was just more of maybe telling you a little bit more about him and his friendships and things like that.
I think it was supposed to be like his long con to be like, I went out with my friends and I had this revelation and I don't want to be in the business anymore. And then he shuts everything down.
You're right.
And he uses that as kind of his excuse, but I don't know. It just seemed like it was so easy to catch on that it was bullshit. And then in the end, like Chuck Rhodes is the last one. At least it seemed that way. The last one to be like, he's shutting down. He's getting out of the game. This like crazy smart, like Luke Skywalker win the day hero. And again, he's dirty. He's got some dirt on him. And I do like that. But he brags about that 81-0 record. I don't know.
I mean, I think so.
First to know.
First to know.
Yeah, he should have been first to know. He's like on point. That's his game. He's mastered it, and he didn't know. He was like the last one. Like the janitor told him, like, "Oh, did you hear? Yeah, they shut down Axl Rose Corp." And he was like, "Really? I didn't know."
I do think that one of the issues with the show is that there isn't somebody that, like you said, that's just outright the hero. Like everybody is, I do like all the characters. I think the acting actually in the show is really, really good. Like all four of the main actors, I think are superb in the show. And even some of the dialogue, I think the dialogue generally, there are some moments for sure that are not the greatest, but a lot of the powerful scenes, I think the dialogue and a lot of things are set up well. But yeah, from the standpoint of the overall script, there's just not somebody that you can just outright love, like this is like our hero, and I really, really like this guy, and that's usually a quality that we do see in a lot of shows. I mean, there are some other shows. I mean, House of Cards. I mean, that's definitely a show too. That's like who do I even like in this show? But yeah, that Billions definitely has that issue too. If it is an issue, some people don't care, but for me, I typically like it. I like it when I can, but okay, this is the person I want to see do well.
What about his wife, Wendy? She is almost a true hero. Like she stands for what she believes in. Granted, the conflict of interest, it's still dumb, like to me, that she didn't jump out immediately. Like it gave them so many problems on both ends. Like that should have been an easy let this go kind of scenario. But I think she really, I like her character. She stands for what she believes, and she does a very altruistic job, except when she decides to buy in with that other company, with that woman who kind of breaks away from Axel Corp or Axelrod, and gives her like the $250,000, and says like, "Oh, Axel will never notice." And it's not that dirty, but it's just a little something. It's like, oh, all right, you have a little bit of shade to you.
Well, she didn't say he wouldn't notice. I mean, I think she knew he would notice, actually.
No, she flat out tells the woman.
Well, she said like put me down for 250, right, or something like that. Yeah, she says
put me down for 250, and she says, won't Axel be upset about this? And she says it won't hurt him if he doesn't know about it.
Yeah, she does say that.
Oh, does she? I don't even remember that.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
I definitely remember that.
Yeah, Well, one quick thing about about Wendy is that I think you're right. I think Wendy is probably the most ethically clean out of everybody on the show. But the issue with her as like the hero is that if you hate Chuck, you still don't like Wendy because she's his wife, and then if you hate Axel, you still don't like Wendy because Wendy's like Axel's, partner in business basically. So she's kind of caught in the middle of that, even from the standpoint of plot wise and where she is.
But here's the thing is I don't think that she ever does, besides like the 250,000 thing, I don't think she ever does anything compromising at all. Like,
no, she doesn't.
I think the show does a good job of showing that like she can be this guy's wife and work for this guy. Like she can do it and it not be a conflict of interest. Like she can, I mean, she recuses herself from both of those things and separates them like almost 100%. Like she probably does the most humanly possible that you could in such a situation. But they make it so difficult for her that they basically force her out. Like both of them. That's why, he says, oh, we both lost her, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
At the end of the series, and it has almost nothing to do with her. It's all these situations she's being thrust into because of their dick measuring competition.
Right.
Really. So, you used Wendy as an example of like a good character. And I think that you're right, but see, I actually think she's the closest to neutral. Like I think she's the closest to neutral. I think the closest to a good character, like as close to good, is probably. I mean, besides the Connerty guy, I think he's supposed to be kind of a Boy Scout. Is Bobby's wife, whatever her name is. I think that the other wife, because she comes from an Irish family and her background's pretty poor. And she kind of lived without until she met Bobby like on 9/11, whenever he did all those trades, those shady trades and made a bunch of money. I mean, she was basically living like we would, or, maybe even less so, and so she's got all these billions, everything, but she still has kind of like an old school mentality. And Bobby has this too. Bobby's a schemer and he's calculated and almost, like a sociopath to a certain degree, but like, he comes from a poor background as well, and like Chuck doesn't. And you see that in, his relationship with his father, and you see the way that Chuck treats his kids. In fact, you don't really see Chuck and his kids at all, but Bobby, they show him with his kids a lot, constantly trying to win their affection, constantly trying to get them to love him and everything, because I think that has to do with their upbringing. I think what they're showing us is a different in upbringing. And his wife isn't the billionaire. She's kind of tagging along and she's still stuck in that kind of old school mentality. And it's like she's trying to understand her role as the wife of a billionaire after being so poor.
Right.
And I think there's a certain amount of innocence that comes from that's portrayed in the character. At least that's how I felt. Now she does do some shady shit.
She does,
She fucks with that woman and there's a few things here and there. But for the most part, you can tell that she honestly cares about the moral right and wrong. Like she constantly is getting onto him about it. She's constantly trying to figure out her own shit. Like when everything hit the fan about the 9/11 stuff, she's like, is this should I leave this guy? She consults her, she talks to her family, all this stuff. And just throwing this out there as a side thing, this actress is actually probably one of the more interesting actresses out there as like a person and the work that she'll do. This is an actress that's been on Showtime's Billionaire, but also been on movies like Watchmen, but also been on shows like Children's Hospital on Adult Swim. Like this. I just want to for a second. I don't know her name, but she has.
Yeah, it's Malin Ackerman. Yeah, she does a lot of different stuff.
She does a lot. Like, and if you've ever seen like Children's Hospital on Adult Swim, it's a parody show about children's hospitals, and it's fucking ridiculous and crazy. And she's very open. Like like she doesn't mind showing her tits. Like she doesn't mind getting into the role or like any of that shit. Like she is just like almost one of the most interesting actresses in Hollywood as far as I'm concerned. Because she's like beautiful, she's funny, she's like, you know, something that you would call like a triple threat. You know, she's like a fucking quadruple threat. You know, whatever. Octo threat. Octo threat.
Oh man, we're getting. She's gonna be doing anime soon, man.
Each tit is a threat. Okay.
My god,
she's awesome. So, anyways, I think that her character is probably like the most grounded. I guess I should say, maybe not morally good, but like the most grounded, like in what reality is. And again, it's shown when she's dealing with the kids. She wants her kids to be tough. She wants her kids to not have everything given to them. And she's constantly fighting with Axel over that. But I didn't really think, I thought Wendy was more of like a neutral character, like a supreme, like if we could put these characters in like D&T terms, she's like straight neutral. Right. And then like, Bobby's wife, this woman, she's more like a neutral good, you know, like she almost like, I don't know, she's just like the supportive wife, you know, and kind of a little bit naive other than that. But she does make some plays, some small plays. Anyways, I digress.
That play that you were talking about earlier with the woman that writes the book and includes Bobby Axelrod's 9/11, like, you know, shit, basically.
Yeah.
I gotta admit, I had a really good laugh at that scene. And you're not supposed to laugh at the scene, but once she corners that woman at the country club, and like the woman knows, like she's screwed, and she's in her car, and she's like talking to the admissions officer at, you know, this prestigious college or university for her son, mm-hmm. And she gets so upset, and she never says Lara Axelrod's name, but she's just beating on the steering wheel, screaming like, "I hate that cunt! I hate that cunt! I hate that cunt!" It was like a scene out of like Always Sunny in like a D Reynolds scene in Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
It was a D Reynolds scene. It was like driven to your like most crazy, yeah. But here's the thing though, like once she comes back and is like, "Hey, you know, I made some revisions, blah 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 blah." She's like, "All right, cool. Yeah. I guess you know, like, all right, cool. I guess your son's gonna get into that you know, college he wants to get into." All right, like she doesn't have a grudge, or like, you know, she just wanted what she wanted to protect her family. When it comes to her family, she's gonna do what she has to do, but otherwise, she doesn't get involved.
And that's the thing about the characters. Like, I think that the reason why she's likable or she stands out is because, you know, her motives are always consistent. It's just her family, and the way it's ranked is that it's her immediate family, you know, like this Bobby and her kids, and then it goes down to her brothers and sisters, you know, and then kind of goes from her cousin. Actually, if you're watching this season, it's like her cousin's next. So, I mean, her family is the most important thing, and everything she does is consistent with defending that, and nothing to do with her ego, actually. Like, you know, with the farm shutting down, like, she's happy to do that if it protects Bobby, you know, or if it's just better for her kids and things like that. So, yeah, I think she, from a standpoint of just, you know, quality of character, I think they did a good job with her for sure.
Why? But here's what we need to be talking about: the best character on the show, the hands down, the best character on the fucking show.
Okay.
Fucking Kaiser Soze.
That's
Dollar Bill.
Dollar Bill. Yes. Oh my god,
Dollar Bill is the best character on this fucking show. Dollar Bill is the real billionaire. Like Dollar Bill.
Dollar billionaire.
The most
dollar billionaires.
He might as well be called Dollar Billionaire. I fucking love that man. Listen, he is the most badass motherfucker on that show. Think about his situation and think like he is gonna go to jail for a long time, and he doesn't. There's not even a whiff of him betraying Axel. Like, his loyalty is unquestionable. It's unending. It's never going to stop. And he tells dude, and it is great because that's the look, man. This guy has like a fire in him,
Kaiser
man.
Fucking Sosa.
Dude, he honestly, like, this character honestly inspired me. Like, he made me go like, what a piece of shit I am. Like, I'm not a good friend. Like, I'm not as good a friend as I'm supposed to be. The scene where he says he's Kaiser Soze was fucking awesome. Where he's like, he's got two families, you know, and that scene when he comes back after getting off, like basically getting off from the judge, when he comes back and like Axel calls him into his room,
was a
and
good
he's
scene.
like,
I
dude,
love you like a
that
brother.
is the best scene in the show. That is the best scene in the show. It is hilarious. It's great. I think they did a little bit too much like back and forth pushing and kind of milked it a little too long, but I still thought that was like the best show. Like when they're yelling at each other, like, what? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Pretend like you're arguing with me. Oh, you want me to argue with you, motherfucker? You know, that kind of thing. And then, like, in the middle of it, he's like, I fucking love you like a brother.
Yeah.
Like, thanks, man. I know. They're, like,
Dude,
pushing each other.
that is the
That is
best.
really fun. That was
And
a
he
great
plays his
scene.
cards like perfect. Like he picks up what Axel's throwing down, like right when he throws it down. He gets it. He doesn't question him. You know, like he's just like, oh, is this what we're doing? All right, this is what we'll do. All right, now poke my chest. Oh, you want me to poke your fucking chest? You know? He is
They did
the
push
best.
each other a little too much.
They
It
did a
was.
little bit too
I
They
mean,
much.
went back and forth, shoving each other like 5 or 6. Like I've never seen a fight where somebody.
Yeah, like in the bowing up, like the cockfight bowing up. That he
Yeah.
does.
I mean, it
God,
kind of
he's
made
got that
Bob.
actor.
It kind of made
That-
Bobby look like, you know, I don't think this guy's actually a stud. He looks like a nerdy guy all of a sudden when he's trying to push this dollar bill dude, because he doesn't.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Dollar
He,
Bill is
like,
much more manly than Bobby in that scene.
You're absolutely. That's what I'm saying. This is the real fucking star. This
Oh
is
my
the
God.
badass. This is the guy.
Hilarious.
This is the oh man. He's a maverick renegade. Like in a movie, in any other movie, they would have asked him to turn in his badge and gun. Like honestly, like this guy is the hero. He's the fucking. He would throw a rule book out a window, literally.
A
Like,
rule book out a window.
yeah, this guy is that badass. I loved
What a
everything
rebel.
about this guy. I don't know. I value loyalty as a person in general, and this guy is like just the epitome of loyalty. Then you look at his other, you know, like Axel's other friends, like in the episode, the Metallica episode, you know, his true friends that he actually grew up with, his poor friends, you know, like his buddy is hinging everything on fucking, was it $200,000 on a tip that he heard from Axel and basically like screws him over.
Yeah.
Right. But like you got to understand, have you ever watched Reckful's explanation of like $1 billion? Have you ever watched that video, Chan-Man? I feel like
No.
you would have. No?
No.
Okay. If you guys ever if you guys ever get a chance, take just a couple of minutes and go look up Reckful Billionaire or Reckful Billion on YouTube and give it a watch. And basically what Reckful does is puts into easy to digest terms of what it is to actually be a billionaire and what it is to actually have that much money. And $200,000 to us sounds like everything, right? Like $200,000 has, you know, I mean, that's miles and miles of sustainability for somebody like us, right? But 200,000 to somebody who's got billions is literally like 20 cents. It's like 20 cents to somebody like that. So when his friend sells him out for 200,000 fucking dollars, it might sound like a big deal, but to Axel, that's like one of us, that's like one of our friends selling us out for like 20 cents or like at the most $2, you know? So, you know, the only person who's like 100%, no questions asked, I'm going to be loyal to this guy, I'm following this guy into hell. It's fucking Dollar Bill, man.
Yeah.
What about Wags?
Yeah, Wags is. I was just gonna bring up Wags because I think Dollar Bill is, unequivocally like crazy loyal. Like I mean, there's only like a few scenes that really show it. You know, he's not in that many scenes too. So the few scenes that he's in, it's just like wow, it's like ridiculous, right? So I totally get your feelings towards Dollar Bill, but Wags I think is just as loyal and. I mean, he's a pretty funny guy too. I mean, if
I don't know, man. I feel like as the and this is just a projection. I haven't watched anything of season 2 or anything like that. I don't even know if it's out.
Yeah, it's out. It just started.
Oh, it is out?
Or
Okay.
2 episodes are out. Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm gonna keep up with the show just because I think I'm just like in it now and I have to. I think Wags is gonna be the one to drop the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he is. I think he is.
Okay.
I think that the fact that they've just temporarily, even kind of nonchalantly out of nowhere, kind of get into Wags' mentality and how he feels about like women and having to degrade them and being on top and, you know, like he wants to destroy people. You know, he doesn't want to just that kind of thing. I think that's going to catch up to them, and I think it's honest. I think it's going to cost them. I think eventually Wags is going to be the weak link. That's my prediction. I have no idea if that's going to be true or not, but that's my prediction, because he is loyal, but he's also got a bunch of flaws. Like Dollar Bill, he's just like, he's fucking perfect. Like as far as the show is concerned, he's perfect so far, right? Like he's never really. He hasn't. We don't really.
Limited
you haven't really
scenes,
seen.
but yes, he's
got limited
limited
scenes, and
scenes.
therefore you don't see his flaws. There's no reason to show his flaws because I don't think he's going to be the one to fuck up. But we're given flaws from Wags, and for no reason yet. Like Wags hasn't made a mistake, but we've learned about his flaws. Whenever you see something like that, it's like a McDuff, right? That's what they call it, right? The literary term McDuff. It comes from like Alfred Hitchcock. Yeah. Something that progresses. Everything has something that progresses the story forward. What was the purpose of us learning that Wags has these weird idiosyncrasies, right? There was no purpose this season for it. But next season, I think they'll give us a purpose for Larry. I think we'll see his weaknesses come out and end up hurting them badly, even to the point where he might get fired or something like that. Like he has to be fired. And then he's gonna. I think we're gonna see his loyalty tested quite a bit.
Lee wants to come in here. What's up, man?
I agree with a lot of what you said, and the character of Wags compared to the character of Dollar Bill, I feel like one was written into the scripts as Bobby Axelrod's right hand man. That's clearly Wags. But that is like his number two. When George Picard walks away, Riker picks up the pace.
Number one.
But his character, especially early on, like the first episode, he's just a dick. He's just a straight up dick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like every scene, it's just him with some shitty one-liner just to make somebody else feel like ass.
Yep.
There's nothing. He just spews shit, and they kind of like scale it back after a while because. He just felt like a caricature to me. He didn't feel real. Like I didn't care about him, but he would just always say these terrible things. I don't know. He just acted like a big child that I don't know. I feel like if this was the Wolf of Wall Street, like Leonardo DiCaprio wouldn't hire him for Oakmont and Stratton or whatever it was called. This guy just talks so much shit. So I was happy when they scaled him back, but they've been I don't know, sprinkling in little things with his character, especially near the end after Donnie dies.
Yeah.
And he blabs to Wendy,
Yeah.
and says, well, he died and left his family $40 million. And she says, he had $40 million? Because she knows that he didn't. And that in the end, Axelrod basically bought his life.
Yeah.
Which really does, I think, kind of solidify ultimately that Axelrod is the bad guy. They paint it so hard that he's supposed to be a good guy, and they want you to root for him. Like it's, I don't know, like in Training Day, Denzel Washington. You want him to be a good guy so bad, you love him. But
spoiler alert.
Yeah.
This is the one place you're allowed to do that.
They're already remaking that movie, so it's just like if you don't know that one, that was a bad one. But
go watch Training Day if you haven't. Yeah. It's fucking phenomenal.
Oh yeah, that's without a doubt fantastic movie. Didn't he win the Academy Award that year for that movie?
Yeah, he did.
But I don't know. Even like there was I'm trying to remember when it was. There was a moment where Axelrod makes this face after Wags says something, like he's on the phone with it, and it's in the last episode, and it's when he transfers $5 million to Wendy's bank account as a bonus.
Yeah.
And then she turns around and walks out, but he calls Wags and he's, I'm going to do this and be a douchebag. Oh, we'll transfer to Wendy Rhodes' account $5 million, blah, blah. And he says something like, ooh, winner, chicken dinner,
exactly.
like, Powerball. And Axelrod's on the phone. He just like, and he doesn't even say goodbye. He just hangs up on it.
Yeah, it's like in the middle of saying, it's like winner, chicken click. Like it was fucking over. I don't know. I think that was just more he was paying attention to Wendy at that point.
Yeah,
I don't think he was annoyed with his character.
No, I don't think so either. I think it was just I don't know. He has many facial reactions that are interesting, Damian Lewis. But yeah, with Wags, I think it. I mean, I don't want to spoil season 2, but you may be onto something. Hello, let's just put you that way. I mean, nothing for sure, but you may be onto something.
Oh, so you've seen season 2?
I mean, I've seen the first 2 episodes of season 2, and yeah, you may be on it.
Okay.
But in general, I think with Wags. I think with Wags is that you're right. I think he's more of a caricature kind of character, but I think Bobby needs that, because Wendy's really the serious, partner in all this. Like anytime he has something that really needs to be discussed or needs to be fixing, he goes to Wendy, right? But when it comes to like any, I don't know, operational things and a little bit just like remedial things, he just goes to Wags. But
yeah, and Wags tries to talk to him on that level, and he always turns him down. Like when he went over to his house and he gave him the, when he was wanting to quit, and he was like, "Hey man, listen, I'm just here to drop off these things, but if you want to talk," and he's like, "All right, see your way out."
Yeah, he doesn't trust him enough. He definitely doesn't trust him enough because he even hid the whole Metallica thing, right? He fooled Wags into thinking that he was getting out of all those sectors too, right? He was getting out, period. He didn't tell Wags either. So he doesn't trust him enough. And you actually see that in both of the sidekicks. One of the best scenes that I think is the most well done in the entire series is in the pilot. When they're both giving those speeches, or Axelrod just gave a speech and Chuck's going in to give his speech, and they run into each other in the lobby, and they have like the two sidekicks kind of like come face to face, and they're literally like coming face to face. Like the two sidekicks come face to face, and then Axelrod and Chuck go face to face. I think that scene is probably one of the best scenes in the entire series. And I don't know, it just it really set things right. It kind of set the tables, and like both of those guys, Chuck and Axel, have the same relationships with their sidekicks. They don't trust them 100%. They don't trust them enough. But Chuck obviously trusts like Brian a little bit more, given that he's told him very. The whole recusal thing, I mean, he's completely vulnerable. And, Brian's, can pretty much just get him fired anytime he wants, right? Like, so there's a little bit more trust on that side. But overall, I think they do a pretty good job.
You're seeing where that's going too.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
The Connerty or whatever, if that's what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Connerty.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I mean, he's starting to crack too at the end.
Yeah, I think that we're going to start seeing that relationship between him and Chuck. Paul Giamatti. I think we're going to start seeing that deteriorate and everything, because that one girl's always like, you'd be much better if you're, she's in his ear, like, you're going to be better if you were solo, blah, 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 blah. The conflicts that they, that Chuck and him have already, and especially at the end of that with, what's his name, offering him, to come, be a lion or play with the big boys.
Yeah.
And he doesn't say no, like that all is obviously leading somewhere, as well. But, Anywho.
I hate his character, by the way. That Brian's character.
I do too.
It's the weakest character by like a mile. Even like some of those guys that work in Axe Capital, even some of those lackeys that work in Axe Capital are better than him, in my opinion, like character-wise. I just hate his character.
I feel like there's such an all-star fucking cast on the show that, like, if you're not Paul Giamatti level acting, or just, maybe even slightly below it, like you're gonna fade out in this show. And I feel like he's not as good at it, just straight up. I don't think he's as good as an actor as the rest of the cast. And I think that it leaves him feeling bland. And I think that he's unlikable. I don't give a shit about him if he comes or goes. Like scenes with him, especially with him and like any of the girls or whatever. I know they're leading up to something, but it's like, I don't know. It's so ham-fisted.
Oh, yeah, it's real heavy-handed.
Yeah, it's heavy-handed, and like every time I see them together, I'm like, oh, here comes a scene that I don't fucking care about. Like that's basically how I feel every time I see him. I feel like out of all the characters, he's the least interesting. Like he's the opposite of Dollar Bill. He's like
I see what you. Yeah, there he is.
Yeah, and they look at this guy.
Look at that. Listen, how can you like that?
Listen, I am not. I mean, listen, I'm not an Adonis, but I'm pretty close. So I feel like I am a good place to judge. But like they try to paint this guy out to be some kind of playboy or something, like some like sex god,
Yeah.
Like that is not the face of a sex god.
That's not him.
That
That's
is
a guy who farts too much.
That's the guy
yes,
who farts.
yes, that is the look of a guy who farts too much, and he literally in this moment he's wondering,
Oh,
does
God.
anyone know it's me? Like that's the look right now. Like that's what's happening. I just don't buy it, man. I just don't.
I don't buy it. But I think part of it isn't so much his acting. I think it's just the dialogue he's given. There's plenty of great actors and actresses, and I don't know. God, what was this? Was it Star Wars Episode 3? Where you have Natalie Portman saying lines like, "That's because I'm in love with you." Like it's because I'm so in love with you. Like you can't do shit with that as an actor.
I think you're being too nice.
No,
I think
no.
you're being way
you
too
can
nice
do more than those motherfuckers did on Star Wars. Okay,
I'm just saying, like every other character. I don't think the writing's the problem at all. I think the writing's pretty solid. I think every other character shines. Every other character
you're talking about
acting
this,
is great. Yeah, I'm talking about this show, not fucking Star Wars.
No.
The writing is good in Star Wars. Whoa. Okay.
No, but I think that like I don't know. You can't blame the bad acting on the writing in this show. I don't think or just the lines that he's given. I feel like he does an okay job, and I think that if it wasn't such an all-star cast, I bet you wouldn't realize it. That he's not as. I mean, he's a good actor, but he's not a great actor. And like Maggie Siff and all those guys, they're just fucking insane, you know.
But that's the thing, you know. I feel like the others can carry just by the way they look, you know, like just by their facial expressions, or you know, they're that good of actors, and he's not. Like he literally needs to be given material to be able to make a presence, and when he's not, you know, when he's not given very, I don't know, very demonstrative things to do, then it's just completely forgettable. You know,
can I ask you a question? And I probably could have Googled this before, but I didn't. Bobby, the guy who plays Bobby Axelrod,
Bobby Axelrod, Damian Lewis.
What has he been in?
Oh, Damian Lewis, he's been in a lot of things, dude.
I swear to God, he looks like Vin Diesel in the picture below, on the screen. I swear when I saw this, I thought it was
Vin Diesel. He does look like a little bit like Vin Diesel.
I thought it was Vin Diesel facing off against Paul Giamatti, and I was like, what? And it was like clearly not that at all. So what has this guy been in? Because I feel like
Homeland.
I've never seen.
I think he's pretty well. I think he's most well known for probably Homeland. He's been in. God, what has he been in recently? Let me look at IMDb. He's really good. The thing about Damian Lewis is he has a huge accent.
Does he?
Yeah, I think he's got an English accent, or he's from Great.
So he's like a House. He's like
a
House.
Totally.
Like the guy who
he's
does
totally
House.
like House. So he has a huge accent. So it's so weird seeing him in interviews. Looks like he's been in Wolf Hall.
Anything like anything like big that like you know like you just couldn't miss, that kind of thing. Anything on that list?
Mostly just Homeland, I think.
Huh.
Yeah, he's been in a bunch of smaller things.
Probably the biggest thing he's done.
Yeah,
show.
I think so.
Okay.
But
I think he did really well. But sometimes in the bowing up scenes, I think he looks a little funny. Like the guy is almost in a constant state of bowing up. Like the way he stands, like he kind of stands like wide shouldered and like
I mean, he looks like that picture of him I have right here looks kind of a lot different than I think his normal looking face.
He looks like the Rock. He looks like the
Voldemort there. I don't know.
I swear to God. I swear to God, if that was a picture of the Rock, just with the same look, the same everything, and it was just the Rock, I'd be like, yeah, that's the Rock.
Yeah,
He's got the eyebrows going.
Yeah.
That's what it is. This scene, it looks like he's gonna do some David Blaine magic. Like, pick a card.
Pick a card.
Look at this, a quarter behind your ear now. Magic.
Oh, so one thing I forgot to mention, we usually do this at the beginning of the show, but if you guys want to call in, you guys can come and pop into our Discord channel, and we'll have Monkey Overlord talk to you a little bit, get your question, and then we can pull you onto the call. So just jump in here. I just linked the Discord channel there. So
yeah, and guys, if you do want to, I know that it can be kind of nerve-wracking to speak in public, so to speak. But anyways, you don't have to like come on with like a question or anything like that. Like it can be literally anything. You guys can talk to us about anything.
It's any interesting point. Yeah. Anything interesting. It has to be
or
about
anything
billions.
that you just wanted to talk. Even if you just like, hey, you guys didn't talk about this. What about this? Like it's totally fine.
We won't bite.
So it doesn't
I
have
have
to
a
be some kind of
question.
interesting, crazy, deep,
Okay, call her.
conversation.
Lee, call her.
I have a question. Maybe this is off topic, but you said we could talk about, I've been finding these stains in my shorts,
Oh my God.
and the
Oh
the
my
color is just
God.
way off. I don't know. Maybe should I change my diet? No.
Lee. Lee, talk to me after the stream, okay? Just I can help you. I know what it is.
Should I come over?
It's called bonus cum, and I
A bonus.
listen. It's called bonus cum. I
The
literally
pre and the post, baby.
listen.
Yeah.
Literally,
I think my wife's in the channel, man.
listen. You can literally go on Urban Dictionary, and I am cited with having come up with the term bonus cum. But what you described sounds a lot like bonus cum. So
I
think-
got 3 kids to speak for that.
Oh my lord.
We go in there today,
if I go to
guys. We go
Chan's
in
house,
there.
don't bring a black light.
Don't bring a black light.
What's
God
this?
damn it,
Oh my
man.
God.
It's on the ceiling.
Whew.
Talking about sex, can I mention what I thought was the absolute funniest thing in the show in
Yeah,
in
sure.
Billions. In general, I thought like a lot of the jokes, especially the first half of season 1, like I felt like they were just kind of throwing in jokes because the writers seemed like, you know what, it's 11 o'clock, let's put a joke in here. It felt real forced, but I don't remember which episode. I think it's like episode 4. There is at the end there is a scene where Paul Giamatti's character Chuck Rhodes is tied up with his his kinky, awesome, sexy wife, and she's like gonna do her whole dominatrix thing on him,
Right.
and he's like, oh,
I'm not in the
I
mood.
can't get my mind into it. I can't. It's me. I'm sorry. And she goes, all right. And that's when she steps out of the room, and she's like, when I come back, like, you better be ready. And she goes to the bathroom, and that's when she makes that hip pocket deal with that other woman.
right.
Yeah, but when she comes back in the room, still like in her complete dominatrix uniform, and says, well, you want to just watch ice cream in bed? I lost it when Giamatti turned around and he says, I'm trying to remember the verbatim of it, but it was something like, yeah, that's perfect. There's butter pecan. I'll go downstairs and get it soft. I lost it.
Well, when did you say get it soft? I don't
Yeah,
remember
that
that.
Promise.
It's
Really?
literally, yeah, that's exactly what he says. Yeah.
What? I don't
Yeah.
remember that part. Holy crap. I'm
There
gonna
was
watch
a
that again.
hashtag. There was a hashtag on Twitter the other day. It was hashtag the moment I realized I was old. Okay. And if you stop your dominatrix wife from putting out cigarettes on you and getting you off in whatever kinky fetish you have,
Yeah.
if you stop her and the idea of getting fucking pecan ice cream in bed is more exciting, you are old. Okay. You are fucking old. But I don't know. So it was funny because sorry, just on a side note, somebody posted on there like how at the moment I realized I was old, and it's like I get excited at canceled plans. And it's like man, and like that one hit home, and I'm like, I'm old. Anyways.
Yeah, there were tons of them yesterday. That was I was responding to. It was hilarious.
Yeah, it was pretty fucking good. Anywho, okay, so we talked about some of the actors, we talked about, kind of the premise of the show and back and forth. What I want to talk about for a second is the fucking music. The music in the show is so weird. Like, it's the weird, like, sometimes it's like perfect. Like, sometimes it's exactly what is needed for the scene, but then sometimes it makes goddamn no sense, okay, at all. Like the beginning or the end of the series, the end of the season. It's like this is literally the scene. It's like, oh yeah, you want to come at me? Well, guess what? I'm gonna come at you with everything I've got. And then like the other guy's like, oh, well, you ready for this? I'm gonna come at you because I've got nothing to lose. And then it's like there's silence, and it's like, Why don't
Punk
you
rock.
fill me up, buttercup, baby? Why don't you let me down? As he walks out, like it's like the weirdest fucking music.
He
choice.
wasn't that. It was like some punkish
It was
song,
pretty
wasn't it?
bad. It was pretty bad. It's like if my 16-year-old
I know what you
self
mean,
got
though.
access to all my 16-year-old music and thought this would be cool in a movie scene, and then like just plugged it in whenever I saw fit. Literally, the music was edited and thrown together by one of these directors' 16-year-old sons. Like it's gotta be. Like it's gotta be. Like honestly, like I want to play just the audio of the end. Can you pull that up for me, Chan? I know it's not gonna be easy.
I don't think I can. I don't have it.
You don't
on
think you
me,
can't
but-
just play it? Just like pull it up and just like play like the last scene. Like it's literally, it's so weird to me. Here, I'll get you a link actually. Here, I'll get you the fucking link. But I don't know. It just, I want to hear it without seeing the scene and see if it is still as ridiculous to me.
I don't even know
It
it.
probably will make a bigger impact without video.
Hold
That
on.
whole last scene, though, the
Well,
whole
I don't know.
like,
We should play music too. Just give me-
climax of the finale
Yeah.
was just kind of, it's like Elo saying, just as two guys screaming at each other, like making idle threats with nothing substantial behind it. I don't know. Aren't season finales supposed to make you go, oh, I can't wait for season 2? This was just like, all right, they're still pissed at each other. And
I don't know. I came across. I mean, it had some power to it, but it wasn't like a crazy cliffhanger or anything like that. You know, but there was power. I mean, it was like basically the two main characters by themselves, you know, in this like torn down building, just going verbally at it. They're never going to do anything physical, right? Because they have obviously some restraints, but you know, it was basically the epitome of what the entire season was. It was just them going at each other verbally.
Yeah. Look, listen, I sent that link to you. Please, Chan. Just pull it.
Are we gonna play music on this? God.
Look, whatever, man. Listen.
we could just like shove him right out.
If we can't get a review on iTunes,
Where'd you send it?
I doubt.
Where'd you send it?
On Discord in a message.
Oh, here we go.
If we can't get
all right,
a review on iTunes, nobody's gonna come at us for playing like a little clip from this fucking show at the end, just the audio, okay? And if they
All right,
if they do, I'll say it's my fault, okay?
It's your fault.
It's my fault. Nah, I'm gonna throw you under the bus.
You know what? I gotta say something else that now that I'm thinking about it bothered me with that last scene. I'm gonna just interject.
Here we go,
Hopefully,
here we
it'll
go,
buy
here
you
we
guys some time to get this link ready. But when he's telling him like, "Oh, the only thing more important or more dangerous than a man with unlimited resources is a man who's lost everything," and he does that whole spiel, and I was thinking about it, I was like, wait, I know Paul Giamatti, like his wife just walked out on him, but doesn't he still have like a whole bunch of shit he can lose?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah, I totally get.
Yeah,
what
that
you're
was a little bit. Yeah, that was a little.
Okay,
weird.
Just making sure I heard it
He
right.
still has
Hold
a
on,
job. I mean, right?
We're gonna wait, but we're gonna hear it again. We're gonna hear it again.
All right, I thought you just want to hear the song. We're gonna actually.
No, like play the last like line. It's like the last line and then into the music. I'm gonna do it right here with me because I can't hear yours, but the stream should hear it. It's like here. I'll even give you like the time.
I know. I'm not playing it. I'm playing it right now.
Okay.
Putting Chan on the spot.
I
Jeez.
am.
All right, here we're okay, got the drums. Duh, 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 duh.
Yeah, it sounds so weird.
Than a man with unlimited
Like here.
resources is one with nothing to lose.
It's like such a weird ending, like intense
Right here.
song. Like,
Wait,
like
that's not playing it. Here it goes. Here it goes.
oh.
Here it goes. It's such a punk rock song. It's not the freaking 80s song that you're freaking talking about. But yeah, it is very strange.
it's strange, right?
I can't hear it on this end,
Yeah. Of course you
Oh,
can't
yeah,
get it
you
on that
can.
end.
but
But like,
Yeah, that's playing right now, though. Okay, all right. So we.
this is not the kind of like, I know it's not. Why don't you feel me? But that's how I felt.
That's
Like I was like, out of all the songs you could have chose after like the cockfight of all cockfights on
Yeah.
the show. We get that song, and it's weird, man. It's a fucking weird choice in music. And there's a couple other times where they're like sometimes I like it. The music sort of fades in, and like sometimes it's only there for like 5 to 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And it just does like a little clip of a song, and it's like perfect, like for that moment. But then other times it's like that. It just seems so out of place and strange.
Yeah, I mean, the music definitely doesn't have very much impact on the series itself, unlike a lot of other series. I think music is pretty important to a lot of other series.
Yeah,
I was kind of surprised they sprinkled in a little Pixies music back. I think it was like episode 5-ish. And that was really the only point. I was watching this with Precious Kitten, who's in the chat. That is my wife. But we were watching. She's like, man, they did good picking this song. But that was the only time either of us was like, you know what? Like, this music really does well for this show. But like you said, overall,
it's not meant. Yeah, they don't use it at all. I mean, every single episode I think starts like a CSI episode. It's got that bing 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 or whatever that kind of weird like sound effect thing. It's not even music. It's kind of weird.
The one shot of they show of New York City.
Yeah, exactly. Like, right on the financial district.
The same damn boat going by every time.
It's like, where's the bull, man? Like,
yeah.
I literally so I watch almost everything with subtitles, and I can't tell you how many times I read tense music begins.
Yes.
Or like tense music, or like it just says like tense music.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, or tense music plays, or what was the other one? Fuck. I can't remember. It was like I can't fucking remember, but it happened a lot. It happened like after like any scene with Paul Giamatti was pretty much like tense music plays. What did you guys think about his relationship with his dad? Like, and how it's so weird. It's not like your typical. It's not like your typical father-son, rich father-son power kind of relationship. Like, you can tell deep down they really do love each other. Like, you can tell there's a lot of endearment there between the two of them, but it's so like wrapped up in business that it almost filters into their real relationship. It's almost like it's like most people would separate, like business and personal. For them, it's just all in the same. Like, they're having a personal conversation and business is just part of it. Like, that's just the way they communicate with each other. And I found that kind of interesting, because usually when you have those like power, that kind of powerful relationship, father son, it's always like the dad who's all, like you see it in like Braveheart, like the dad that always wants his son to be elevated, kind of thing, that relationship. But there's actually like no love there, in like Braveheart and those scenes, and a lot of those kind of movies like that kind of follow that template. There's not really a lot of love, but I think they did a really good job of showing that these two people actually care about each other, but they're just as cutthroat with each other as well. Like, it's almost like they're business partners, but also father and son, and it's all just a big hodgepodge of shit. Like, there's no separation. I kind of liked it a lot, because it's like he'll go back to apologize. Like, he'll say, "Listen, Dad," like almost like a son would to a father. Like, "Listen, Dad, I messed up and I went too far and blah 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 blah." And then he kind of gives it back to him like a father would, like, "Oh, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm too old," like that kind of thing. But then it's like right into the business thing, like, "You're fucking up. You're weak. You got to take care of business," that kind of thing. It's very, I found it to be pretty good. And I found the actor, he plays Dale in Walking Dead.
Yeah.
It's the second thing I've seen him in. And I think he did all right in Walking Dead as Dale. But I feel like he did really, really well in this show. Like, I feel like he fit that template of the power, the old school, powerful dad, old friends, old men kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. He was cast very well for that part. Like, I don't think that guy really even had to try hard to make the best out of that character for him. But did you ever see The Mist, Stephen King movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
He was in that as well.
Right. You're right. You're absolutely right. He was in that.
And
I forgot about that.
Yeah, he was good in it. I'm not saying like let's talk about The Mist, but yeah, he was good in that. And I don't know. I thought he was very good for that role. I didn't I don't know. I liked the fact that Paul Giamatti is obviously the character who, he's sitting in the driver's seat. Dad is retired. He just throws in his 2 bits, of advice here and there, but he makes that one flaw and tries to, help his son out. And all he does is screw up Chuck's plans.
Yeah.
And he comes back and he's like, Dad, you told me before to stop fucking up. You're the one fucking up here. Like, you're killing me on this. And I don't know. I really liked the way that they could talk to each other like that. And yet they never got really, really, like, I don't know, went to fisticuffs about anything, or even just, I hate you kind of conversations that like an adolescent would have with their dad.
Yeah, and it never reached an extreme one way or the other. Like, they never were embracing like, I love you, Dad, I love you, son. And they also were never like, hey, fuck, like totally like, fuck you, I'm never I'm not gonna associate with you again, that kind of thing. They had a little breakdown, but
it's interesting because I mean, I definitely liked his character, and I like that dynamic. I think it was, for me, it was part of Chuck's shield, right? They talked about his net, like this. There was some reference of like having a shield, or I forget which episode it was, but they talked about it's like having a safety net, and his dad's always been his safety net. So he's always had money behind him. He's always had connections behind him to help him, achieve things where Bobby didn't have all those things. I think that was how the analogy was, kind of explained on the show. But with his dad, for me it was interesting because an interesting father-son type of relationship, because his dad was vicariously living through Chuck. He wasn't able to get to the pinnacle, or at least where he wanted to get politically. So he's, Chuck is basically his way of doing that. And so for me, it's like, I don't know how much of it is love necessarily. They definitely, he definitely has that fatherly kind of feel to him and looking out for him. But it's a very selfish reason, though. It's like it's always back there that it's because he wants him to get to, be president or something like that. I don't even know what it is. But so I've always felt that. And then like with Chuck, it was always, kind of, yeah, Dad, kind of thing, and, trying to be an obedient son, but at the same time trying to make his own name for himself, at the same time. So he would, push back at times. With the friend especially, like there's that one friend, right? He pretty much put in jail and he ended up killing himself, right? That friend of his dad's or whatever. So
yeah, his dad like sacrificed that guy for him. Like, that's basically like that was like the first thing that they established right out the gate. Yeah, because the dad said like, oh, I brought him there. I knew you were going to react that way. And now you can say that it doesn't matter if your own father comes in, you're going to take charge and put somebody in jail. It was like a friend of theirs. It was like a family friend of theirs that like the dad brought in just to fucking throw under the bus to elevate his son. Like, that was a planned, calculated move. Like, and I thought that was pretty cool, actually. Like, I mean, I haven't really seen that in a movie where it's like a father walks up with like a sacrificial lamb, like, this will help you further your career. Here, take my friend and throw him in jail. Like, this will make it look like you have no nonsense, because everyone knows he's our family friend and you fucked him up. So it I don't know. I think it established his dad's value right at the beginning, and that his dad is just is calculating, and definitely understands the game. But it also shows that, he's still got that old school mentality too, and fucked up with the share buying and manipulating of the ship, because then it gets his hands dirty, and then that pulls Paul Giamatti down.
I mean, that's the part I thought was really cool, is when they were kind of teaming up on that, that part. And that's when his dad overstepped, and actually got into trouble. But, his dad is the person that reached out to somebody to go bid on the house. And, like, they're kind of doing this father-son double team. And that was really cool. I definitely liked that, and that they could corroborate on that. And I don't know, that was probably the most father-son like aspect that I could see. And it came across a bit more. But overall, I still think a dad is still, mostly being selfish when it comes to him. And it's just like, just only thinking about the political side of it and how he looks and things like that. But
let me ask a question for you guys. And I don't know if you felt this way as well. And I'm just curious. Did you guys feel like every speech that Paul Giamatti gave was heavy-handed and felt really forced? But every speech that Axelrod, the guy who plays Axelrod, that most of his speeches actually seemed super charismatic and really well done. And
There was one I didn't like.
There's one, yeah. I can think of like one or two where I'm like, all right, you missed the mark. But for the most part, I felt like Axelrod's charisma and his bravado was very apparent, and like Paul Giamatti was not. Like his shit was like he had like little anecdotes or like parables and shit like about him playing chess and stuff like that, but it always seemed so forced and so like, I don't know, like he might as well have written down the speech or something, or like, it's like when a guy starts being like, I remember this is just like chess when I was young and blah blah, like that kind of thing. It seems so weird. Chess. Did you guys feel that way? Did you guys feel like?
Yeah, I felt there was a lot of things that kind of beat you over the head with in the show to really drive it home. And I don't know, some things I feel like they use that as like a pick. Like they would show you something that I don't know. It got to the point where I'm like, all right, here comes another scene where they're just gonna beat this over my head. And then they wouldn't use those kind of things. But I don't know, like you were talking about their speeches, and I believe it was the finale, there is that when Axelrod is going to all of these people basically as a way out, an investor, looking for investors, and he's wearing the suit, and then he tells Wags like, go on ahead, and then he takes off the tie and he throws it in the garbage can, and he next thing you know, you see him, he's in this meeting with all these board members, and he's talking to them, trying to win them over, and he's wearing street clothes, he's not wearing anything fancy. But that I don't know, I watched that whole speech twice, and the look on his face, and maybe it wasn't supposed to come across this way, but it definitely came across to me. Axelrod came across more or less like a businessman and more like someone with a gambling debt, just trying to like get one more piece. Like I got a good run coming up. Right. I can feel it. Get on board and get the fuck out of here. And once again, it just felt heavy-handed, and it made me not want to believe it. It didn't feel natural.
I agree, but then on the other hand, there's like the speech that he gives the one guy, the investor at the Metallica concert, the Eagle one. He's like, listen, this is your only chance to get up with the big boys. So you're either gonna take the fucking risk or you're not. Blah blah. Like he just gives it, like doesn't even let the guy speak basically, and then like hangs up on him, is like, see ya. It's like, damn, man. Like,
he does that hang up thing a lot. Like, they never finish conversation. Nobody says goodbye in the show.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, are you gonna be there?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Well, that's typical of like all movies. There. That's always true.
That's true.
It's like nobody ever says goodbye to each other. But no, I wonder if that's like a calculated thing. If Paul Giamatti is supposed to seem less,
I think he is. It's Paul Giamatti, guys. I mean, Paul Giamatti is always plays characters that are, or not always, but for a long time, Paul Giamatti played very weak characters. I mean, not that he was weak as an actor, but he played very weak characters that usually had self-confidence issues and things like that. So I think everybody that sees Paul Giamatti is already going to have that type of, mindset about him. And on top of that, I think he is supposed to be a juxtaposition from, like Axel, right? Axel's a stud that has charisma and aura, and he's like a man's man, kind of badass type of thing, where Chuck Rhodes is supposed to be more calculated, and he's not supposed to give off that type of feel. So I don't know. I think the dynamic's fine. I think where it might be a problem is like, how is he with Wendy? It's like,
oh yeah,
how?
Oh yeah.
I mean, like, I don't even understand, because she's much more fitted with somebody like Axelrod than with him.
Oh God, man. Right? Man, since Sons of Anarchy, man, like my penis has not stood down since I saw Maggie Sif on Sons of Anarchy, and this show. What a delightful surprise. I know we like touched on it for a second, but can we just take a moment, like maybe even of silence, to appreciate the beauty and form of Maggie Sif and awesome lingerie. I wish she just did the whole movie in that. Like never changed out, not even at the funeral. Like I don't give a shit. I just want to see that all day, every day. And it was fucking awesome. I thought it was really, I don't know. The whole scene, I don't know, man. Like what? Okay, let me ask you guys a question. Do you think Paul Giamatti's character, well, of course he wouldn't appreciate it, but do you think that she like basically sort of, I mean, not physically cheated on him, but getting naked with him in a basically a giant jacuzzi? Like if Cora worked somewhere and that fucking happened, I would be fucking livid. Like I would lose my shit. And it seems so uncharacteristic and so weird of that character to get naked with him in it. And I felt like that was just like a ploy for the episode. You guys, that was one of those Quentin Tarantino episodes where it's like 72 hours earlier, you know, like that kind of thing. And it's supposed to lead up to the scene where, you know, obviously she gets naked with him and it's supposed to insinuate that they're probably going to have sex, but they don't, you know, they still keep it really business, but like, it's a really, really weird out of left field for such a neutral character. And I know that they touched on it a little bit at the end when he did throw out the blackmail, you know, he's like, and I know a part of you probably knows that I took pictures and you knew that, you know, like all that shit, right? But like, it seems so weird. I felt like it was just done. Sorry, we're on the topic of, you know, Maggie Siff and wearing little amounts of clothing. But so the scene popped up, so full circle. It just seemed like did that seem weird to you guys?
Yes.
That she did that, like totally out of character, that she would agree to something like that. It was so weird.
Without question. She's just like, all right, I'm going to get in this pool naked.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
It was there's a lot of things that just happened. Again, I just feel like the writers put it in there just to make it happen. There's no rhyme or reason to some of the things that a normal person, or I don't know, I feel like I could say that anybody else would question. And some of these people just, didn't flinch at these things. Even with trusted individuals, you got to understand your position. You're this wife of this politician who also works for this billionaire crook.
Yes.
And I mean, I feel like you've always, I don't know, anybody in that situation would always have their guard up to some degree.
Yes.
And to know, like, if you're in this game, and this isn't, I was talking to Chris earlier before you joined us, Ella, before we went live, and I was actually talking about Game of Thrones, and when they mentioned, like, you're in the game of games now. Like, this isn't just a little bit, this is the biggest game in the world. And I feel like this show is supposed to touch on that same kind of thing. Like, it's this mental, tactical race to the finish line for everybody, and everybody is supposed to be living in this, and that would mean like you better be top form or else you're gonna lose. And even her part, I just feel like she took some careless approach, a careless approach to a lot of things. That was just
the thing about Wendy
hurt me to think like, is that really how everybody else is? How everybody thinks? Like,
so the thing about Wendy for me is that, and this is one part that you guys are pointing at, that was, I think that point in the show was a part where I don't think they were able to explain, or they really did a good job of Chuck and Wendy's marriage starting to crumble, because it kind of suddenly happens at the end. And, you know, kind of thinking back on it and thinking about the pool scene too now, it really makes you understand that Wendy really isn't neutral. She's more selfish in a way, if you think about it, because everything she does, even though ethically, from the standpoint of like herself, if you're just looking purely at just herself, most of the things that she does is actually sound. But there's nothing where she, I would say, compromised herself for Chuck. Like in fact, she was asking him to compromise a lot of times too, right? They had that exchange where it's just like, recuse yourself, right? Why are you still on this case? And then at the same time, it's like, oh, well, why are you still working for Bobby? Yet she still works for Bobby. Like, even with that, you would think you wouldn't have to just ask your husband to recuse himself too. You know what I mean? Like, there's no give there either. So she's very selfish in a way too. And to the point where, she would put her husband in jail if it came down to having to, testify against him, or something, like whether he's using this kind of evidence that was not supposed to be, like he basically stole the evidence right from her, or like got on her laptop. So, from that standpoint, I actually think she is like very self-preserving, and, she's only doing some things because of her children. Like, he's at this point at the end of the show, it's like he's the father of my children, so I'm not going to like literally just give you everything, Axelrod, and just let you just put him at the stake. But that's because that has to do with her kids. It's not because of her love for her husband or anything like that.
I
you
think,
can't testify against somebody you're married. You're right. No, but you know what I mean, though. Like she would do if she was put in a position where she would have to sacrifice herself. She wouldn't do that.
Also, I don't know if you know this or not, but a husband and wife cannot do time for the same crime.
Yeah, that's what medicated, I think, was.
No. That's a line from Arrested Development.
Oh, is it? Oh, my bad.
Yeah, because you can't like testify against but you can't do jail time.
Oh,
you can't do jail time
sorry.
for the same crime.
Thinking you meant by testifying.
There's going to be some Arrested Development. There's going to be some Arrested Development fans out there that got that. Anyways,
yeah.
Here's what I think. And I have no idea, but here's what I feel like they were going for with that. With the relationship between Wendy and Bobby, I think what they wanted to show was that they don't have any secrets between them. That everything, like defenses, are completely down. They are almost even vulnerable in front of each other because they have this very strange relationship. And it's like, it goes back to that whole, when Harry met Sally, can guys and girls actually be friends, without there being some kind of sexual tension in the way. And I feel like there is sexual tension there, but I feel like both of them love their significant others too much to ever do anything. But that connection, that like raw connection, is so strong. And Paul Giamatti's character, Chuck, brings this up. He says how much he hates it. He's super drunk and he's like, I just fucking hate how close you were to this.
It's understandable.
Yes, it's totally,
too.
Totally understandable. But I never felt like, I see where the writers were trying to go with that, but I never felt like they took the time to build it. Like it was just there. Like
it didn't land.
Yeah, it didn't land well. Yeah, like that's my biggest thing is it didn't land well. And I love, in fact, one of the few things that I just always love in shows, which ChanMan, you mentioning the scene where like the two second in commands like face off, and so I love shit like in Deadwood. If you've ever seen Deadwood, there's a scene where like two big power people like have their second in commands like fight in the fucking streets and stuff. It's fucking awesome. I love that. But one of the themes also that I love is the relationship between man and woman that that are super intense. They're super deep. They are on a level like a connection that is beyond friendship almost. It's just like kindred spirits, right? But without the sexuality. Like they can be naked in front of each other and vulnerable like this, but neither of them even considers having sex with the other person or anything like that. This is just that level of trust, like it's just that deep. And I love themes like that, but I just feel like it didn't land with this one. Like it just didn't.
I always feel that Axelrod is more of the person that would have sex with Wendy, and Wendy is always the person that just like stops there. Like it's never like to that point where he's making advances at her. But I always feel like the sexual tension is like more from Axel's side, and then it's like Wendy that just surprisingly sets it straight. And
I don't know, man.
Really?
I disagree because I think they established purposely that both of these characters aren't going to cheat. Like, like the scene with Axel when he had the opportunity to sleep with that pretty singer chick.
Yeah, that's
and he does the right thing. He really loves his wife. He comes from, and this is one last thing I want to talk about. I'll kind of work into that. I'll segue in a second. But he doesn't cheat on his wife when he has the opportunity. And they also take a point of having Maggie show that she won't shit on Paul Giamatti when that one guy keeps showing up and hitting on her. The other psychiatrist guy that's always super fucking charming. And she's moist and wet every time he talks.
That's
but
actually
she's like,
good looking.
No.
That's actually
that's actually maybe decent looking. And like and he's suave, man. He's fucking suave, right? Like he really hits on her. He's really good about it. Like he's charismatic. And she's like, there's a lot of things about your proposal that I like, but this is starting to become unprofessional. Get the fuck out. And I think both of those people, I think the establishing thought there was that neither of these people will cheat on, or if they do, it's going to be at a great personal expense, to their character, their moral character, and so I think that I sort of disagree with you because I don't think that there's really sexual tension coming from him or her. And I think that that's why they can get in a tub together naked and it might be okay.
Yeah,
like it
I think
might
you're
make
right.
sense writing wise, but I don't think that they did it. I don't think they did it justice enough to pull it off that way. I think that's what they were going for, but I don't think that's the way I felt.
I definitely interpreted it as they both have a love for their significant other. So they're not going to betray them on that level just to have like this moment and, you know, for a quickie or whatever. But at the same time, I feel like there's that like little wink that they give each other when no one's looking, like, hey, like if I didn't have him and you didn't have her, I wouldn't kick you out of my bed either.
Yeah, I think there's just that level of understanding of the other person. Like yes, you are somebody who I love. Like I think they truly love each other. Like I think they truly just love the other person. Like I think they are on that level, like deeper than their husbands or spouses. Like he talks to her about shit that he never mentions to his wife, and vice versa. Like it's obviously a very deep connection. So I don't know.
I think it's going to come to a head at some point. I mean,
I
think so. Yeah.
Do you think they'll end up doing something together? Or do you think they're
eventually? I mean, it depends on how long the series goes, but
yeah,
you have to think it's just a normal plot line, right? They've got to cross paths at some point.
Yeah, I feel as if I was writing that show, that's definitely something eventually like I would write in. Like, I don't know, I would sitting around talking with writers like, well, we need this to happen. How can we do that? Well, you know what? We could always just have them have sex.
If things get boring, guys, we can always go through the list of things on the.
It's true.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah. I mean, that would definitely stir up a whole bunch of shit, you know?
Yeah.
But I feel like part of me feels like if it was going to happen, it would have too.
Yeah.
You know, like, but I see that as like a back pocket. But like by the time they do use it, it's gonna feel so much like a back pocket play. Like it's gonna feel so much like a Pam and Jim, you know, like
Ross
will they, won't they kind of thing, you know? Yeah, Ross and Rachel, but like a super billionaire high stakes Ross and Rachel.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's I don't know. It's kind of weird. The last thing I kind of wanted to talk about, we've been going a while.
Actually, there's
now,
one
so
thing I want to talk about too, but maybe it overlaps here.
Why don't you do yours and I'll do mine.
Yeah. So the one thing I wanted to talk about was the whole Donnie thing. So
yeah, we didn't even talk about Donnie.
I think that's really interesting, and I kind of want to get y'all's perspective on just I guess Donnie's perspective, and then B, you know, Axelrod's conflict. I mean, it was good that he had conflict, but then, you know, then they had that whole session with Wendy, and you realized that he, you know, didn't really feel anything about it. You know, it was just like he wanted to feel something for Donnie. But okay, so first off, Donnie's perspective. All right, you've got terminal cancer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're not poor by any means, but you know, you don't have enough money to probably have your family continue living the lifestyle that they do live. Mm-hmm. So you're basically, you have this proposition where you give up the last months of your life. I mean, spending it just quality time with your family members and, you know, your loved ones. And you're basically going through this crazy, you know, ordeal with trying to trick, you know, Chuck Rhodes and all that stuff. So that's for $40 million. Would you guys do that?
Dude, I don't know. For me, it's not so much about the money. It's about the action of it all. Like the dollar amount could be anything, but really what it came down to is, I don't know, like Bobby Axelrod cut Donnie's life a little shorter. Like, and I don't know. It felt like another, like we were saying before, like they could just sleep together. Like it's just another thing you could crawl. Like, all right, just pull that off the board. We're gonna use it. And you know, Donnie's death ended up being this perfectly timed Deus Ex Machina moment. Like they're about to get this information. And he's like, I don't feel so good. Blah, 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 blood in their face. And again, like those perfect timing, coincidental situations always bother me with shows like this. It makes me think like the show's not as good as they're trying to make it out to be. They're just pulling out tricks, little gimmicks. And I don't know, $40 million is a lot. And I understand if I was dying and somebody offered that to me, the value that it would have after I'm gone. But it's so underhanded because in the presentation of it all, $40 million and the way that comes out, it sounds like, this is a really nice thing that Bobby Axelrod is doing for me. But it wasn't. It was all about Bobby Axelrod covering his own ass. And he throws out that $40 million after he has talked to the doctor who knows all about Donnie's cancer, all of it, like the whole deal. And he tells him, well, we actually have this experimental drug that we could use, Bobby, and it'll extend his life. Give him another 3 months. How much value do you put on that? And the fact that Bobby Axelrod was just like, well, obviously that's going to be too long of a timeline for me to fit in my things and cover my own ass. I can't have that. And so under the guise of, well, he's been through enough, let's not put him on this new drug to stress him out more. It could kill him. I didn't like it. That was the most, at least to me, that was the part where Axelrod's character felt the most Luciferian out of the whole season. That was the part where it's like, okay, you are definitely a bad guy. Like you want to, I don't know. I feel like preservation of life.
I think the sequencing was, they were in the doctor's office first. I mean, I think they had already talked about the 40 million. And then they were the doctor, and
did
then
they?
Yeah,
they made
I think
the
it was
agreement
after.
First.
Yeah.
They made the agreement first.
I mean, it's still
then,
like a pretty crappy.
See,
thing.
you know what though?
Just,
no, here's the thing. I disagree, and here's why: is because I think that at a point where you accept $40 million and you're being told your last days won't be your own, like you literally, that's what he tells him. Like, I'm gonna make you an offer. But what it's going to cost is your last days are not going to be your own. And I feel like that was part of the deal. That month, those months that he shaves off of Donnie's life, I feel like it's totally within the bounds of their agreement. I think that I don't even know why he got guilty about it, honestly, because he came. Yeah, but he came to Donnie with a deal. He went businessman to businessman with a friend of his, and they came up with something that they both agreed to. Donnie was not forced into this decision. He took it willingly. And if I took the same kind of opportunity to leave my family well off, like really fucking well off, $40 million well off, and the deal was that I was going to lose the last days of my life to somebody, that was the payment. If I found out, afterwards, after I died, looking down from heaven or up from hell or wherever the fuck you may believe, that this guy jipped me out of 6 months, I think I'd go, all right, yeah, that was part of the payment. That was part of the payment. And if you're asking, Chairman, you asked if I would take the deal. If I had terminal illness and somebody was offering me $40 fucking million to leave to Cora in Junie, and what I had to do was that the last days of my life, I had to cover somebody's ass, like cover his ass. I'd do it. I'd do it in a heartbeat. It wouldn't even be a question.
That doesn't make the money feel dirty to you. Like he literally uses the word deception when he's talking to Don. He's like, listen, I'll do this, but it's going to require deception on your part. So not only are your last days not yours, but you're doing something shady. You're going to die on that. And if news ever came to light, that's how you're going to be remembered too by everybody. Now, granted, I'm not saying that's exactly the road I would take because $40 million talks a lot.
Yeah, but
a whole lot.
Yeah, there's no
zeros
there.
there.
I think a lot of us with the briefcase open in front of us would make different decisions, but I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is that I think it was a pretty fucking sweet deal. And even if later on it came out that I lied to the government, everybody that Donnie cares about is only going to applaud him even more. Like, think about his context. All those guys fucking hate the government. And on top of that, they're very good friends. It's not just that they're business associates. They're very close, which is why it bothers Axel so fucking much that he didn't care as much about Donnie passing because he considered him to be a very close friend. I mean, he knew about his gay relationship. They kept that quiet. They had no problem with it. All this stuff. So it's like less of, I mean, you got to understand the context of friendship being in there too. If a friend of mine that I worked with for however many years was a billionaire, Okay, Jared, let's say you're a billionaire and you came up to me, Jared, because for those of you who don't know, Jared, he streams and that's great. But to me, Jared is like one of my best friends. Okay, I literally have grown up with this guy. I've known him since I was 13. Okay, so if Jared was a fucking billionaire and I was working with Jared, and this is a heart, a little ninja heart. And if you came up to me, I have pancreatic cancer that could not be helped. And at the best, it could be helped for maybe 6 months, maybe. I mean, he was saying a month, 2 months, maybe 6. So let's even take it at the top of that for 6 months. Let's say you came up to me and said, hey, man, listen, I've got a way that I can support your family, and at the same time, I can cover my ass. I'll make sure everything's taken care of when you pass. Your family's not going to want for anything, and you'll be able to help me out. But listen, the last days of your life are not going to be your own, and it's going to involve deceiving the government.
Yeah, but
sign me the fuck up, man.
Okay,
this is my buddy coming to me. This is my buddy who I don't give a fuck about the government. Donnie doesn't give a fuck about the government. They're all fuck you. All those guys that make tons of money are all fuck you to the government. So not only are you sticking it to the man, but you're also helping out your buddy. And on top of that, you're supporting your family for the rest of their fucking lives.
So from the standpoint of Axel, I think there's no question that, all that whole scenario, yeah, that's fine and great. And I think if you're negotiating this type of thing beforehand, you would negotiate that if something does come up where there's some kind of study that this possibly could extend your life, that means not doing that. I think they could have already just gotten that out of the way too, because they were trying to make it feel a little bit more conflicting with something that comes up a little bit later and that sort of thing. But so for me with Donnie, it's a relative thing too. So I think going from like nothing to 40 million is an easier decision. If your family's going to struggle if you die, and they're not going to struggle if you have 40 million, then obviously that kind of decision is very, very simple. But it sounds like Donnie's already made a good amount of money. I mean, he's probably got like a few million in the bank. It's just not 40 million, right? And
didn't he say like he gave a bunch away though right before?
Or his wife, like his wife, right?
That's right. Okay.
But still,
he's gay, but he lost it. He gave everything to his wife, and her new husband owns all the money now and all that.
Yeah,
shit.
but it still sounded like he had some money. It wasn't like he had no money.
I mean, the guy works for a billionaire. You gotta assume he's got a couple million stashed somewhere. Yeah. Which again to us, but like you said, Chan, it's about living the same lifestyle as you left your family. I think as and this might be a traditional, maybe old school opinion, but I think as men, I think it's very important, maybe the most important thing to us, that our families are taken care of. And if I were to, pass away and I knew that I didn't leave my family in the position that they could live their lives as good as they had it when I was here, if not better, I think that would bother me on a level of my manhood. And I know that not everybody feels that traditional and stuff, but personally, that's how I would feel. So while they may have a couple million in the bank, and while they may be able to live their lives like we would live our lives, with $2 million, I think I could live the rest of my life with $2 million, but even then that would be, I feel like over, 30, 40 years. I mean, in the sense of his kids, you're talking, conservatively 60 years of time, will $2 million stretch you 60 years? Will it really for like both of his kids?
I see what you're saying.
Maybe I'm crazy, but I actually wouldn't do it.
You wouldn't do it
for
40 million?
I wouldn't do it.
I have a hard time doing it too. I agree with ChanManV.
I mean, time is invaluable to me, actually, and I think that even for selfish reasons, as well as I think what can be done in like 3 to 6 months to have an impression for a lifetime with your kids is immense, actually. And $40 million, $40 million can make their life easy and all these things, but memories can be just as valuable too. It could be life lessons. It could be, if I had a terminal illness, I would be making, remember that movie My Life a long time ago, where the guy makes like a ton of videos to like teach lessons to his kids, because he's not going to be around. And I mean, I would be doing those type of, interviews and trying to do that sort of thing, spending a lot of time with them, trying to, instill those type of things upon them that I'm not going to be able to do later, where money wouldn't be able to do that. In fact, money in some ways, a lot of times can make life too easy for them, and corrupt them in a different way.
Yes.
So
definitely
there's
challenges.
benefits to both, and I totally like
yeah.
supporting my family, after I'm dead or whatever is very important to me too. But having to weigh the two things, I feel like that's a little bit more important to me.
Yeah, and again, I think this is more of a personal thing. Like I said, I mean,
Yeah, it is,
honestly,
totally.
I mean, I honestly, if you want to know like what I live for, like honestly,
Yeah.
what I live for, I live to support Cora and Junie. Like
Yeah.
that is all I am about. Like I have no stance really in anything else in my life. I love streaming, I like money, it's great, all that good stuff.
Mhm.
But I mean, Jared, you know this about me. I don't go like just like buying new cars and like
What?
like
You
doing
don't?
all this shit. Like I don't go crazy. Like most of the money that I make, I fucking like give to my friends or like save and
No,
try to support my family.
Definitely vouch for Adam on that. Like he's not that kind of person. But that's again, this is very circumstantial. That's you.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Your
saying
situation.
I'm recognizing that. So I'm saying like it wouldn't be everyone's decision. But
Yeah.
for me, knowing that I would go to the grave serving my one fucking purpose, which is to make sure that Junie is taken care of and Cora taken care of, I think that that's worth 6 months. 6 months of time. In fact, I've spent years and years and years and years and years and years and years of my life throughout the years, hopefully throughout the years, I will have spent, once this is all said and done and I'm out on my deathbed, I will have spent at least minimum 30 to 40 fucking years trying to get them into the position that I could get them in, just giving up 6 months.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. I don't know. We'll okay. In contrast, think of like an NFL football player, somebody who's playing and they're making millions of dollars every year and they play well. And then all of a sudden they're injured and they go on NFL disability. Do you know what NFL disability pays? It's like $180,000 a year. Now that may seem, again, to you or I'm set. Like I'm super cool with that. But if you've been living on a $10 million lifestyle continually, and now all of a sudden you don't have that and you've got to pay for the upkeep, like $180,000 isn't going to help you out. So in that regard, I do see what you're saying with Donnie. Like you look at it like that, he's stepping away. He's lost a good chunk of money. Here's this opportunity. I can see it. But the, I don't know, I guess the altruistic side of me wants to stick to my guns. Like Chan was saying, like, I don't know if I could do that. My time is worth a lot. And sometimes it's worth, there's not a way that you can put a price tag on that.
I can. It's 40 million for 6 months. I think that the fact that we're discussing it like this proves that this was probably, for me anyways, this was one of the cooler deals that went down. I think this was one of the more interesting, more creative. I think that was the one deal that Axelrod actually made that made me go, oh, this guy truly does think outside the box. This guy is fucking considering all options. Like most of the other things, I think the only other thing that I really liked was his speech about coming up from nothing and how Chuck didn't have to come up from nothing and how that made him different. That was the thing I wanted to talk about. That was the other thing I wanted to talk about. Besides that specifically, I think that, I don't know. I think that, fuck it. I lost my train of thought. I just totally lost my train of thought. Like totally just dropped it. I think that, that was what I was talking about. I think that was probably one of the most interesting deals that went down.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because most of them seem pretty straightforward to me. I didn't really see, like in a show that's all about skullduggery or whatever the fucking term it is. It surely didn't feel like it. Like there wasn't ever any like really cool deals that would have it, except for that one maybe. That's the only one I felt was like really good. So, anywho.
Well,
that's good topic points. I definitely
that was a deep one.
Made me think about it in a different light, and I'm gonna be honest. I like the show a little better after hearing all that. Right on. Good discussion.
All right. Well, are we ready to wrap up and talk about next week?
Yeah, I'm totally ready.
All right.
I'm excited about this. I picked this one.
Yes, he picked this one. So, Drum roll. Next week we're going to be doing, and for those of you wondering what the hell are we talking about, so what we do every week, guys, is we discuss, a TV show, a movie, anime, whatever. We're talking any kind of media, and we give you guys homework that week to what we're going to do next week. So your homework this week is Split, the new M. Night Shyamalan movie, which it's been out for a little bit now, but been getting great reviews. I know a lot of people enjoyed it, so I haven't gotten a chance to watch it yet. Can't wait to see it.
Yeah, so like ChanManV was saying, like you guys, the idea is that you guys will go this week and watch this. We can meet back up at the same time, 1 p.m. next week, and we will actually talk about Split, and we'll just have an open discussion about it. So if you want to get involved with the show, now's the best time. Split, I've seen it. I saw it. I feel like people need to see it, and it's an interesting case. It's a very, very interesting case as a movie. And I think that even if you don't like the movie, I think that the implications that the movie presents are worth discussing, because I think exploring new ideas in film is important. So with that being said, I can't say much more about it without spoiling anything. And the thing is that it's very peculiar, because the twist in this one, you're either going to get it or you're not. And I feel like a lot of people are not going to get it. And I can't tell you what to do in order to get it without spoiling it. So it's a very curious movie. And I think it's going to be interesting to dissect and talk about, just as a fan of film.
Mm-hmm.
So not even necessarily as the content of the movie, just in filmography as it is. I think that's the right word, filmography. I guess that is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway. M. Night Shyamalan movies are always interesting to talk about, and we haven't gotten a chance to talk about one yet, so I'm excited to see it.
Well, and I think this is interesting, because a lot of people are saying like this is a comeback movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree. And I agree. and I can agree. I have been on the, M. Night Shyamalan can, suck my Shyamalan, because most of the movies he came out with just started to fucking suck, right? It's like we were wowed by Sixth Sense and, Unbreakable and all these things. And then Avatar came out and we were like, what are the
Last Airbender? Where's the second one, man?
I feel like this really kind of brings him back. I feel like this really kind of harkens back.
What was that last movie he did that was just so?
Which one? I mean,
everything.
Lady in the Water.
I feel like was a so-so.
Signs.
Paul Giamatti movie.
Which one?
Yep, another Paul Giamatti movie. Yeah, he was.
The Happening? Was that him?
The Happening.
No, that was.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was him.
The Happening was him.
It was.
Yeah.
That sucked too. It's all right.
Yeah.
That
I never
sucked
saw
too.
The Happening. That's the one where like the guy lays down in front of the. Listen, the only thing that was good. The only thing that was good about The Happening was that we got that gif of Mark Wahlberg.
Oh,
the one where he's like, he's just like looking out. Yeah, like it's such a good like, what the fuck am I looking at? Mark Wahlberg does a great "what the fuck am I looking at?"
He does.
face.
He does. He's got the furrow,
He was
dude.
on camera. He was just confused. That's just how he looks all the time.
He didn't even know he was in that movie.
He's like, is this Transformers like number 12?
Oh
Am I
my
in?
god.
He walked on set. He saw some guy put himself under a mower and was like, "What the fuck?" Like he didn't even know he was in that movie. They just filmed him.
I thought this was
kind of
Ted
like,
3.
He's like, I showed up for Ted 3 and some guy threw himself under a fucking lawnmower. What the fuck, man?
That's one of my favorite things to say is that I don't remember what movie it's from, but that's a quote. Like Tom Cruise didn't even know he was in that vampire movie. That's just shit he does on the weekend.
That's my favorite. That's one of my favorite jokes too. Tom Cruise didn't know he was in Interview with a Vampire, and Woody Harrelson didn't know that he was filming for Zombieland. That's just what Woody Harrelson does. He just goes around. He goes around with
lives in Zombieland.
Yeah, he just goes around trying to find Twinkies. That's what Woody Harrelson's real life is. And they just walked around like Bowfinger and just filmed him from afar. And fucking that's what you get. That's just who these people are.
Oh man.
God damn it, man.
Okay, well anyways.
That's what that joke is actually from, is Bowfinger, Adam. You solved the riddle. Way to go.
Is it from Bowfinger?
I feel like it is. After you said that, a little spark went off in my head, and I
Okay.
said,
Maybe it was.
God, it's been
Maybe
so
it-
long since I've seen Bowfinger. I
I
barely even
love
remember Bowfinger.
I
barely
love
remember it.
Bowfinger.
Bowfinger's great.
It was
Dude,
funny.
it
I
was
remember
like
laughing really hard.
and people it was such like it was a movie that people hated. It was not considered like a success at all, and I thought it was awesome. I love Bowfinger. Like, I don't know, man, that scene at the end where he does the karate thing and like all the guys are flipping around him.
Yeah.
Oh God, it was, I don't know, it was Chubby Rain.
Chubby Rain,
Rain was
dude.
different that day. It was Chubby Rain.
Chubby
Rain. No,
Anyways,
Bowfinger.
we're
I think
chatty today.
I know,
We are
totally,
chatty today.
totally.
I love it. I love how chatty
Oh.
we are today.
Why don't we wrap
Oh.
up? And Jared, it was awesome to have you on today, and like it was
Man,
a lot of
thank-
fun. So we should do
Thank
it
you.
again.
I had a blast. I would love to be back. So I don't know. My schedule's open.
My schedule's open. And
Pick me up whenever you like. You
so
guys
maybe
have been
watch Split this week, dude. Maybe.
awesome. You want me to watch Split? I'll probably see it eventually, but I'll go out of my way to check it out.
You should anyways. I would go watch it again too. I probably would. Just
Yeah.
to see. I just want to see your face. Like I would go sit for 2 hours just to see your face for a split second.
You're gonna sit
You've got
next
Adam
to
just
me.
literally staring at your face.
Just, yeah,
the
you're
entire
gonna see
time.
this the whole with that movie light on my face.
Dude, I do that so much. Is anybody else? I don't know in the chat or you guys, ChanManV, Lee. I don't know if you guys do this, but whenever I watch shows, when something crazy's coming up and I know it's coming up, or if something happens and I think it's awesome, I constantly look at the people that I'm
I do
watching
too.
with.
I do.
I like I'm watching and like something happens and I'm like looking at them, looking at I know it's got to drive Cora crazy. I know it drives people crazy. It's got to, because it annoys me that I do it. But like I can't help it. Like I want to share in this moment with everybody. Like, oh, here it comes, and boom, it happened. You know, like look at this cool thing. Are you seeing it? Are you seeing it? You know,
Or
I
or the awkward moments where it's like it's not as funny to them, but you're just trying to laugh to make it even funnier for some reason.
oh yeah,
I've done that too.
Yeah.
because
Precious gets mad at me for doing stuff like that. Like, why you gotta ruin it? I didn't say anything. Yeah, but you looked at me.
yes, yeah. You know what it is? It's that position that you get in when you've seen something for the first time. Like for me, it's like Rick and Morty. The way I laughed the first time I watched Rick and Morty, I try to recreate that laugh with other people that I watch through Rick and Morty, because I want them to know how I felt the first time I watched it. So I manufacture this laughter at certain parts when I know it's coming. I've heard the
Right.
joke 1,000 times, but I want them to know how I felt in that first initial moment, because otherwise they're just sitting there laughing to themselves and I look
So
like a
funny.
dick, like this is so unfunny, when in actuality I thought it was brilliant. So it's like I have to like play a little laughing trick on them. It's
Yeah,
weird,
yeah.
man. I'm a weird movie person.
No, I understand. I think a lot of people do that. Like, you want to augment the scene. You want to make sure they get all of it out of it, like you did.
Yeah,
You want to share it.
man.
It's kind of like, I don't know, it's like Star Wars. It's like, I can't wait for my daughter to watch it. I want to sit right next to her. And when, he says, Luke, I'm your father, like, I want to look at her face real quick and just see
Yeah.
her flipping out. Because come on, like, it's not every day that some crazy ass plot twist comes up like
Well,
that.
it is almost every day now, but
it's
back
so
then it wasn't. For
Except for Split.
sure. Except for that.
It's not every day a twist ending comes up, except in an M. Night Shyamalan.
Exactly.
Then
right.
it's expected. All
Well,
right.
why don't we wrap up? Jared, do you want to do some shout outs before we go? Where can people find you?
Thank you guys. This is
This is your time to like get all your
Plug.
social media
Plug
out, to like just
all that
blow
stuff.
your load of information all over the viewers.
Yes.
if I'm gonna blow a load, let me
Oh,
get
no.
No. He's teabagging. He's teabagging. What is he
check
doing?
me out on Twitter for more of this. I am BruisedLee01. I broadcast on Twitch. You can go to twitch.tv/BruisedLee01. I do the twits. I do the Twitters. I do the snaps. You can snap me. It doesn't matter. You might get a snap back you won't like, but I do the snaps. And I just want to say thank you guys so much. This was an absolute blast. You guys, I really appreciate it. And yeah, check me out. I have a really cool. I don't know if I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do it right. I have a really cool channel where you can actually mess with me from chat. You can literally use chat commands to flip my entire game screen upside down,
Yes,
and
love
you
that.
can possibly win some
Interactive.
money out of it. It's an awesome.
I
Little
literally have never seen it in any other channel. It literally, if you're a sub of Jared's, you get like he has a whole ninja theme, and you get like a smoke bomb, and literally like once a month or something, you can turn off his monitor. You have there's a command. Oh,
it
okay,
flips. It flips
the
now.
monitor.
So I have to
Wow.
play
It flips
I don't know
now.
how you
Okay,
turn
okay,
off a
flips
upside
monitor.
down.
It used to turn
It's
off.
one hell of a
It used
bot.
It used to
turn off.
blind me, but we've made this better. You can use we give out points like a currency, and you can use if you've got 90 points, that's a second per point that you can flip my screen upside down. And if I die, not only do you get your points back, but we do a little like raffle for a $50 value, something of a $50 value every month. And every time you get me killed, that's an entry into this raffle, and we give out points,
Sounds
and subs
awesome.
do get points automatically every month. It's a lot
I
of
would
fun.
fucking hate that on my stream. My viewers would just constantly be flipping my stream. Like I couldn't even imagine
I have a
giving that
cooldown.
kind of power. Yeah, I can't imagine giving that kind of power to my viewers at all, ever.
Yeah, there's a cooldown. And some people have figured out like whenever a resub or a sub happens, it resets the cooldown, so you can really rapid fire those flips.
Yeah.
But that takes a lot of coordination from chat. But I do love it when they get together and they conspire something like, I'm gonna flip him,
Combo.
you do your resub, and then I'll do it again.
God, I can imagine just
That's
being
cool,
on like
though.
a Dark Souls boss, one that I've died to like 20 plus times, and in like the last like this match, I'm gonna do it. He's got like 10 HP. All of a sudden, screen flipped. What the fuck? Everything sucks. I'm
Dickhead.
dead, and fuck everything. Like,
Oh, I rage pretty hard. I'm not gonna deny it. I rage.
thank you for
Cool.
being on the show, man.
Yeah,
I really
thank
appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me. You guys are awesome.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and do my thing. This is my channel. I am Ellohime. If you don't know who I am, welcome to the stream. This is a show that I do once a week, but otherwise you can find me streaming variety. I would say right now, probably average about 4 days out of the week. In the early morning, about 4 a.m. And yeah, we like to have fun. I just got done playing Sniper Elite 4. I'm probably going to be jumping back into For Honor, or I might even check out the new Berserk game that came out on Steam. I'm pretty excited about that. So if you guys want to follow any of my social media, it's all on this channel, but pretty much in the mods, we'll post it, Twitter, all that good stuff. But thank you guys for being here, and thanks for checking out our show. And hopefully, if you guys come back and visit us in the early morning, I can show you guys my chops as a normal professional streamer. I'm very professional. No technical difficulties. Yeah, no technical difficulties ever on this channel. It's perfect. So, ChanManV, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, just round things out. Thank the two of you guys for doing the show. It was awesome today. And for those of you that might have missed any of the show today, we'll have the VODs up on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/ChanManV. And you can actually listen to all of our shows too. So if you're in the car or on a trip and just want to get them all on your iPads or your iPhones and listen to it, you can find us on iTunes. It's kind of hard to find, but just search for spoiler alerts and look for it. We're somewhere down there. So you can do that too. If you missed any of our previous shows, they're all on the YouTube channel too, all our VODs. And we've done some pretty fun things, just all kinds of different TV shows and movies. Check it out if you can. But that's going to be it, guys, for this week. So for BruisedLee, Ellohime, and myself, ChanManV, we'll see you next week. Split.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Go watch Split.
Yeah, go watch Split.